was spending about 4 hours a day working on this process. So when you think about what's the return of that 4 hours of manual work, and this is just you can input your numbers into this, but this is a pretty easy ROI calculation. And I will tell you, when we work with you, our ROI calculations are very conservative intentionally because you wouldn't believe the real ROIs if we show them. They're just, and you'll see why when we start looking at the math. If you're paying somebody maybe in an entry-level position $20 an hour, you figure some kind of a overlay of $8 roughly, which is kind of the norm for 40% or for benefits, taxes, and insurance. And then you have an overhead cost for heat, light, rent, that kind of stuff. Your all-in cost is about $38. If they're going to work 4 hours a day, standard business days, it's 1,040 hours a year. That's $39,520 for that employee. And that's if they're really at task for 4 hours a day. It might actually be 5 or 6 if you take in all the stuff that happens when you're working. But let's just say it's 4 straight hours. That's $39,520. Our bot cost assumption, and this is just a relatively simple bot. It is, let's say, $15,000, and it costs maybe a couple $100 a month to support that. So we actually help with the sustaining and making sure that if there's any program changes or things like that, that would go into your cost. Your payback on that bot would be 4 months. You would positive cash flow $22,000 in year one, $37,000 in year two, which is really the only difference in year two is now I've replaced that $39,520 of work that I was paying for, and I've repurposed that person to do something else during those 4 hours or deal with the exception. Has always been part of that person's day. And then, so it's a pretty straight, pretty simple math equation if you look at the $39,520 minus the annual $2,400. But your 3-year ROI on that 642%, and your all-in cost for that bot over a 3-year period is $8.65. Why I say that's conservative is we don't include any of the benefit that person was able to use by repurposing that time. You're going to get additional lift in your organization above and beyond because the manual repeatable work is going to be handled. One thing that Jeremiah mentioned earlier, and I'll mention it again, our bots will not take care of 100% of the work. There's always an element that needs to be decisioned by thought. So I would say we always estimate kind of a 75-80% placeholder. Some have been higher, some have been lower, but that's probably a relatively fair average. But you can see the economics on this come back pretty significant. The other thing that's not on this slide is, let's say you have a team of 5 and all 5 are spending 4 hours. The cumulative impact material very quickly. And I think you'll hear that from Kevin a little bit later. This slide is a little bit busy, but I think it does kind of a good job showing that hours saved per day. And this is on the bottom axis here, this is time. So half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hour, up to if you saved 8 hours a day. And this is using that example on the prior slide and what the cost per bot is. So if you have 30 minutes a day that you're going to try to automate and replicate, your all-in cost is actually going to be $69.23. That's probably not a wise decision, and we will tell you that. If it's going to cost you $15,000 to build a bot and maintenance is $2,400 and you're spending 30 minutes a day, it's probably not a good investment. About 2 hours a day is where it intersects. And then you can really start seeing the gains in the ROIs. If you're getting to where you're automating 8 hours of manual work a day, you're at a 1,400% return. That's very conservative. And you're down to $4 an hour if you can really get to that. So, the longer it's in place, and by the way, we picked 3 years. These can run 5 years, 10 years, and it just keeps piling up on the benefit. The other piece with this too, and I don't want to ever undermine, you lose the errors, corrections, disappointed members when things weren't happening on time. All of this kind of stuff plays into it. And that's additional value not contemplated in this, but the compliance and accuracy and reliability, all of those factors further improve this return.